Hello, everybody. Excited Utterance here. Did that work? Is everyone coming in? Hi. Wow, that was a little bit of YouTube magic. So we just finished the Nick Gojon story stream, and we went straight into the Unseen Exhibits Hildebrand and Franke stream. So good to see you guys coming in. Hi, Mads first, except for the staff. You're kind of like staff, Mads. You're here a lot. Kim is here. Silnat is here. Yes, Dali's here. Ronnie's here. Howdy, howdy. And we have not Snivels, but the real Snivels. And Sal, you did a great job covering for Hella. Look, he's nearly as pretty. He's my co-host. He is my co-host, and we are besties also. So absolutely, he's so great. Darlene Hamlin, hi. Hi, it's so good to see you. Shell Marie, good to see you back again. You're not familiar with anything about this case? Well, going to help you with that. But I tell you what, get ready because it's sensitive, this case. It's sensitive. Okay, and it is pretty brutal, and that's why Dali doesn't join me for this one. He has too much of a sense of humor. I said, look, we try and keep things lighthearted, but yeah, I said to him on the first time I ran this one, I'm like, you can come along, but you got to behave yourself. And he went, maybe not. Yeah. Josie, how's it going? Jeanette, made it over. Yeah, long time no see, tragic. And thank you for the gift of memberships. Much appreciated. You are just so kind. Yep, it's a little bit brutal. But you know what? There's a few YouTubers covering this at the moment, and no shade to them whatsoever, but I choose to cover this my own way, and I want to be super duper sensitive about it because let's just say right from the outset, this is a child abuse case. Okay. And the reason it's become like it was in the news sort of 4-6 months ago, and it's back in the news again because both of the felons involved have been convicted. They pled guilty and they've been convicted, and there is, I think, a 60-day rule or something like that, and the exhibits of the case have now been unsealed. And the unsealed exhibits, they're now available. And that means that a lot of the YouTube community are able to share them. The true crime community, also the mainstream media, etc., can share them. Now, some people are sharing some of the photographs and things just willy-nilly, right? And I ain't doing that. I have the photos that you might have seen on X, on some streams, etc., of the children, and I ain't showing them. Okay? I have them, I ain't showing them. Simple as that. So if you're looking for that stuff, you're not going to find them on this channel. That's not what I'm here for. What I am interested in is showing you some of the things that were going on with these ladies. There's two ladies involved with these ladies that potentially were warning signs. Because as far as I'm concerned, anything that can be done to stop children going through things like this should be made public, and people should be able to see these signs and look out for them, because no kid should ever, 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 ever have to go through something like this. Okay, so that's my opinion on this and why I think it's essential that these things are made public. So I'm handling this with the utmost care, and I'm sharing it with you. I'm going through all of the exhibits, and I'm sharing them with you in ways that I feel are useful. All right. Okay, so I've been following, what's this, Sebastian Rogers case? Oh, that one is nasty. So I missed some updates in this case, so much going on. Sebastian Rogers, he's that kid who has gone missing, and autistic kid just went missing from his house, and no explanation whatsoever for that. And I saw Nancy Grace questioning his parents in quite a nasty way, in my opinion anyway, in a really nasty way, like they're responsible for it. And I just don't like that. Like, she's not the police investigator. Leave them alone. That's just, I don't know enough about it, but it's like these people have just lost their kid and you're questioning these people like they did it. Leave it to the investigators, please, Nancy. Dear me. Were they both sentenced yet, or was it just Ruby? No, they both have been given up to 30 years. Up to 30 years. So between, I think 4 years is the minimum, but it's up to the parole officers whether or not they are let out before the 30-year maximum. Who all agrees Helen is beautiful? Oh, Darlene. Yeah, it's a hard one to crack jokes in, and I can't usually make a joke on these certain cases. Yeah, it's tough. Like, but that said, though, I still want to be able to have like conversation, right? So I still want us to be able to agree to disagree. I'd like to be able to have just a relaxed chat, like we do here. You know, yeah, I still want to have the kind of tone of chat that we have here. So yeah. So anyway, now Tilly Spilly. Hello, Tilly Spilly. Have they found Sebastian? Oh, I don't think so. The public should know what really happened. We need to be made aware of this kind of abuse. Yeah. Now, it's such a. That said, though, what's happened here is so unusual. I hope it's unusual. But if anyone followed the Laurie Bello Daybell case, and also Chad Daybell's trial is coming up in April, so really soon, right? It is so ringing bells when it comes to that, right? So you know how they were religious fanatics and they were talking about exorcising demons in those children, right? So there was JJ and mind blank the kid's name. Help me. JJ and Kaylee, or I can't believe I can't remember her name. It was a year ago now that I was following the trial. And anyway, so the two kids and also the wife of Chad's, and everybody who just happened to fall away in their lives just supposedly was possessed. They were all possessed. Yeah. Anyway, so what we're going to look at today, because I've been through a lot of the interviews and the audio and things, we're going to have a look at Kevin Franke. Now, Kevin Franke is the husband of Ruby Franke. Now, Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrand were besties, and Ruby Franke, she had this YouTube channel called 8 Passengers. Her and her husband had this very successful YouTube presence. Their kids and that, they were on YouTube all the time. They were making a bunch of money. One of those sort of, family sitcom kind of reality show YouTube channels. And then there also was this Jodi Hildebrand, and Jodi Hildebrand was a social media kind of life coachy kind of psychologist, also very popular online character, right? So they both had these big social media presences, and they also would do shows together, right? Now, living in Utah in the kind of the desert, and what we didn't know is that they were actually into this sort of religious fantasy kind of thing, and they were enacting their beliefs on the kids. And Kevin Franke, which is Ruby's husband, supposedly didn't know what was going on. Supposedly didn't know. Oh, Tylee, thank you. Don't you hate it when a name just goes out of your head? Tylee. I knew it was something Lee. Yeah. You don't have to replay tonight. Oh, good, Melissa. Good to see you. That's right, Alpha Fox. I'd rather have a glass of water than you as my mum. That's what the boy said. Yeah. Okay, so let's just go firstly to, we're going to watch a little bit of the first interview with Ruby Franke's husband, and that is Kevin Franke, right? So tell me, guys, I'm not 100% sure whether or not this had already been shown prior to this unsealing of the exhibits. I'm not sure whether this was out in the public prior to a few days ago. Let's just have a little bit of a look at it. Just a second. I'm going to bring it up. Because there's so much, there's so many interrogations, there's so much footage. I'm having trouble keeping track of what was available prior to a few days ago when the unsealing happened, and what was available just became available. There's like tons that I've been going through in the last few days. So you guys tell me if you've only just seen it, or if you've seen it before. But what definitely has only come out in the last few days is the second interview, and we'll be getting to that just after. So they're quite short. All right, let's get to it. I'm just going to change over some of my. So I'll put this up. I'm going to share screen. Two seconds, guys. Wrong way around. Okay, so the reason I'm going to use Law and Crimes one is because there's better audio in it than I could have done with mine. All right. So there we go. All right. So tell me, guys, anyone who's been following this, have you seen this before the last couple of days? Because I am just not sure whether or not. And I'll get the closed captions up as well.
But I am going to review the Miranda rights before we start. We're just kind of ask you a few questions about your involvement. Okay, so first, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be held against you in the court of law. Okay, you have the right to an attorney, or to have him or her present while questioning. If you cannot afford to hire one will be hired to represent you. If you decide to answer questions, you can stop at any time. Okay, do you understand your rights?
I do.
Okay, do you wish to speak to me now?
Well, I want to pick up my kids.
How about this? We're going to ask you some questions, and if you don't want to answer.
Okay, so thank you. Haven't seen it yet. Glad to watch with you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this has only come out in the last few days. So this is the first of two interviews with Kevin Franke. And as you can see, it's on the 30th of the 8th, 2023, right? So this was, I think, within a day or two of when the kids were found. Remember when the little boy escaped from Jody Hildebrand's house? I showed you guys this on Saturday. So he very bravely escaped from a window of Jody Hildebrand's house and went to a neighbor's house and asked for help. And those lovely people called 911 and got an ambulance to come. And that's when they went and raided Jody Hildebrand's house, and they found the little girl there as well. So Kevin Franke, which is the father, he's been called in and he's been interrogated interviewed, interrogated, whatever. And so this is the first of 2 interviews, right? So as we go along, I'm just going to let you guys listen to it, but I'm going to pop some things in chat with a bit of context about him and what his part in this is as we go along. Okay.
Sir, you just say, hey man, I'm not going to answer that.
Sure.
And
But to just say, hey, I'm not going to talk, that's not beneficial to you, and then we're done. There's nowhere, and we're nowhere. And
Sure.
you understand that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so just for starters, what was your full name?
Kevin William Franke.
How to spell that?
KEVINWILLIAM FRANKE.
And what's your date of birth?
It mutes for a second. It comes back. Come on. Come on.
How long have you lived in Springville for?
I moved there in 2007 with my family, so
And how many?
17 years.
17. And how many kids do you have, Kevin?
I have 6 kids.
And what are their names?
Ah, okay, that's why it's muting. I don't want to say their names. Hello.
I can't remember.
Some of them are teenagers, 2 adults.
So are they all living with you, or
No, I haven't seen them for over a year.
any of them?
No, none of them.
For a year.
Over a year.
Okay.
I've been in a separation
From who?
Thank you, Kim.
from my wife and family.
What's your wife's name?
Ruby.
Ruby. When was the last time you saw Ruby?
The last time I saw her
Yeah.
was the 18th
Of
of this month. We met she requested me to sign
Yeah.
over vehicles, or the titles to the vehicle that she drives, and were all in my name.
when's the last time you physically saw Russell or Eve?
The day that I moved out, July 24th, 2022.
24th of 2022.
Or July 25th, July 25th.
So it's my understanding that at least home here in Kayenta and Ivans, have you been to that home?
No,
You've not been to that home?
no, I don't know. I don't know what's anything that's been going on.
Like, this is good, man. Like, I would love to be able to help you out with this, and like, I'm seeing the light of being this channel because I'm unaware of your involvement in what's really going on. So for you to say that you're unaware of the status of your kids kind of makes, I know that sounds kind of crummy to you, but it sounds kind of good to me. Like, who lives in that home with
Not yet.
is it ex-wife? Is it currently a separated wife? Like, who lives in that home with your children?
To be honest, I don't know. I know that she's there with 4 of the children, and our 2 older children have moved out.
They're not at your home in Springville?
And
And I'm not trying to trip you up. I can see you're hesitant to talk to me. I understand that.
Well, where I live, no,
Yeah.
I haven't seen them for over a year.
Okay.
What?
That's tough. I can only imagine how that feels, man. I got kids. And not seeing them for that long, that would tear a little piece of my heart out.
How do you not see your kids for
Does
over a
she
year?
drive? Does she drive?
I don't know.
Okay.
Like I said, I don't know nothing that's going on
So-
in their lives or anything going on.
How did you find out that you needed to come here to 55 North Main Street?
I received a message that I needed to come pick up my kids from the police department in Highlands.
And who is that message from?
Well, I prefer not to say right now.
It would just help us a lot.
I'll try to figure out who reached out to you, because it makes sense that that would happen. I'm just not aware of anyone who did that from our department.
Right, and I'm not comfortable saying right now who reached out to me.
Okay.
Okay.
So you haven't seen any of your kids in over a year, you said?
That's correct.
And then, what was the last time you saw her? How old is she now?
15.
She's 16. Okay. And then when all the kids left, Ruby took all of them?
Yeah, she stayed in the house and I moved out.
Okay. And did you ever try to reach out to the kids, drop by the home, or
No.
was
I
there?
honored the no separation boundary that we agreed to.
So what
Or
was
no
your separation?
contact boundary, excuse me.
Did you have a no contact order in place?
Order? No, this was between my wife and I.
So what did Ruby ask of you when you separated?
What did she ask of me?
Did she ask you not to contact the kids?
Ruby invited me to leave the home
Mm-hmm.
while I thought about the choices that I've made in my life and the way that I've treated her.
Okay.
And so I left.
And how long had you and Ruby been married before?
We were married in 2000.
So about 22 years?
When we separated, we were going on 22 years. Yes.
Okay. And during your marriage, how was disciplining your kids? How would you discipline your kids?
I'm not going to answer that question.
Okay, that's fine.
Have you been since separated, or since they lived here in the city of Ivins? Have you communicated with your wife regarding like discipline with your kids, or their care, or their physical well-being?
No.
So is she doing this on her own and just telling you how your kids are?
She's not telling me anything about the kids.
Who's this female Jody that your wife lives with? Do you know a female named Jody?
She is a therapist and a life coach, I know, and she's.
Do you respect her?
Do I respect her?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think she's a very honest, truthful person. Yes.
Okay. You place value on Jody?
I don't know what that means.
Like, do you value what she says and how she treats? Is your wife a client of hers? Is your wife a partner of hers? Is your wife a roommate with her? Your kids are living in her house, is what I'm trying to say.
I'm not aware of that, but I know that they've been in business for the last year filming.
Who's they?
Ruby and Jody. They
Ruby
film.
and Jody's been in
They
business.
film podcasts, and so every week a podcast goes
And
up.
he's
and I
fine
listen
with
to
this?
it.
What's the name of it?
Connections with an X.
Like CON.
CONNEXIONS.
And then, like, do you support them in that role and doing that and having?
Do I support them in the business?
Yeah, like, do you support them and think that what they're doing is a good thing, or
Yeah, I support their business efforts. I think it's a good thing.
are you involved with their business efforts, or?
No.
So just Ruby and Jody. No
In
Kevin.
the business?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And were you involved in the 8 passengers account with your family?
Yes. I was in the videos, if that's what you mean.
I briefly learned about this 2 hours ago.
So did Ruby more so do the videos for the family?
Mm-hmm.
And how long did you guys do that for?
She started the channel in 2015, and as far as I'm aware, from the time I left, the last video she uploaded was towards the end of 2021.
Okay.
And I'm not aware of anything she's done since our separation. I don't visit 8 passengers anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Chapter of your life that's gone.
It's a past chapter, yeah.
So how do you and Ruby communicate? Just Through text, phone call?
Through text, and if there's anything considered an emergency, we agreed that we would communicate through a phone call.
Okay. And do you know her phone number off the top of your head?
The top of my head, no.
Okay, no worries. So how often would you guys communicate while she was down here?
Well, I don't know how often or long she was down here. We've communicated maybe 4 times in 2023 since January.
So are you aware of how she disciplines the kids or how she handles
No.
the kids with behavioral issues or anything like that?
No.
So you're unaware of how she does that?
Yes.
Okay. Are you aware of the physical condition of your children?
No.
What?
No. I've chosen to trust my wife with the children. That was part of the agreement of our separation.
Is that you allow her to physically provide for the needs of the child? You're just removed from that? I mean, you pay support. I know this is personal questions, but
Yes, my job is to financially provide for
I'm
them.
just trying to figure out like how much of a role do you play in the caretaking of specifically, is it?
I am just like floored by this. How can he
Kids.
not know?
I pay the bills.
Oh, okay. You pay the bills. All right.
My job, I provide the money, goes into a shared bank account, and that's my only involvement.
Okay. There's a whole bunch of things I want to talk to you about, but I still can't get over the fact that someone notified you to come here to pick up your kids. My guess is, was that Jody?
No, I'm not going to answer that question.
Okay.
All I'll say is,
Well,
someone
you said you
notified
trusted her. You said that you think that she's not necessarily. I asked you if you placed value on her, but you obviously.
she is an honest. I know her to be an honest and a trustworthy individual, and so yeah, I trust her. And I received a communication that and so I left immediately from my job and drove down here. That's all I know. I've come to pick up my kids and to take them home with me.
Do you have any? Is there custodial paperwork that says that you're like a? There's no custodial paperwork denying you of rights, correct?
There's no custodial paperwork at all.
Period. So the kids are yours.
They are mine.
Okay.
Yes. This wasn't just a verbal agreement between my wife and I. We said that last year.
I don't know if he's that weak
What
and
questions do
trusting.
you have?
Oh, I want to know what's going on and why I was asked to come down and pick up my 2 kids.
Well,
And a lot of that kind of hinges on who asks you, because if we had been the one, like, I'm not going to say you fit, but I'm confident a cop didn't call you because we wouldn't have wanted you down here at this point in our investigation. So, having said that, I think it's time we be honest with you, right?
Okay.
Sure.
Let's go.
No, and I didn't lie.
You're,
Someone contacted me, but I don't want to
you said
say
someone
without
from your office, but okay.
Oh, sorry. Just want to make sure those closed captions are
I
working.
recall saying someone from my office.
Our office.
someone, yeah, so we don't know who called you. So if we knew who called you, then we could help you,
It would make more sense.
but
I'll get
Well, I
those.
don't know the legal ramifications of implicating individuals who contacted me. So without a lawyer here, I don't want to answer that question.
that's okay.
I
But
appreciate
you want to know specifics of the case, which we can't share right now because it's under investigation. So
I see.
yeah, so we would like to ask questions about where you found out, but we'll respect that if you don't want to share that information. But I am curious, when you guys had the previous 8 Passengers YouTube channel, you guys got a lot of heat for neglect and child abuse. A lot of people commented those things on there. Why were they commenting those things?
That's a good question. We had a son who was acting out in very selfish behavior.
Just Chad or
Yes, this was Chad. And none of this is strange or odd. You could get on YouTube and find out all sorts of stuff on this.
It's like a double-edged sword.
Whereas the question is, what do you believe, right? There was even an article written in News.
Okay, so firstly, why is he mentioning this kid's name when a lot of the kids have been kids' names have been redacted? Secondly, acting out. What's acting out? I'd like to know the context of that. I'm going to have to look up this. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to look up this YouTube channel. I don't want to, unless it's been taken down. All this stuff. Maybe it's all been taken down. It would make sense if it has. But yeah. No, Becca Lynn. No, I don't take that as criticism at all. Nothing. No. In fact, I would love help from people. And you know me, it's pretty hard to bother me, pretty hard to offend me. I'm always like, please, everybody, add stuff into chat. Tell me what I'm missing. Like, if there's anything that you can add, please add it, right? So it's all gone now. It's been taken down. Yeah, I would have thought so. So yeah, Becca Lynn earlier was saying how I shared the jail calls between Kevin and Ruby, and I said no. And I'd love to know it, because the reason I say that is because honestly, Becca, there's so much to wade through. It's hard to know what is most relevant to share. So thank you, and I mean that, right? I basically have folders and folders and folders of audio files, MP4 files, JPEGs, documents, photos, and they're not like easy to look through, right? I have to download them all, which I did a lot of that on the weekend, spent ages and ages downloading them all. Then I've got to watch them all. Some of them are hours and hours long. I've got to flick through them all. And I'm fairly new to the case. Like, I watched some of it when it all happened, but I was busy like doing my own content. So I wasn't like as close to it as a lot of people. So for me, it's kind of hard to work out like what the most relevant stuff is to share. So if you guys see stuff out there that you think would be like more relevant to share than other things, let me know, please. I'd love to have that feedback from you all. It's really helpful. Because I'm really like putting a lot of hours into trying to work out like the best stuff to share, and also the most sensitive stuff to share, the most insightful stuff to share, rather than just splattering stuff out there. Because that's me. To be the only jail calls worth hearing are the first ones between her and her husband. Thanks. Cool. Where she talks about how people don't understand that children can be evil. All right, cool. I'll try and find that. The second interview I'm going to show today. So once we finish listening to this, the second interview with him, that's the interesting one. I'm only showing you this as a precursor because it's fairly short. In fact, I might speed it up a little bit so we can get to it. But I just wanted to show you how he's kind of oblivious to everything right now. And then we're going to get to his second interview, and that's when things change. Okay, so we'll get through this pretty quick.
Newsweek magazine in 2020 on it, or Newsweek? No, Business Insider, where we were interviewed. And we were pretty straightforward, and we talked about it, and we shared our piece in that. Basically, it boils down to he was being very cruel and mean to his siblings that he shared a room with, and so we removed him from the room. And we said, you can sleep anywhere you want. Sleep on the couch, sleep on the pull-out bed, sleep on the floor for all we care, but you're not sleeping in that room with your brother. He chose to sleep on a beanbag. So 9 months later, he had made a lot of changes in his life. and he was ready to, and we had moved by that time. And so we had a new house, and he was ready to move into his own bedroom. Made a video about it, and in the video he mentioned something to the effect of, "I've been sleeping for 9 months on a beanbag," and that is what all the uproar was about.
What did you guys do to help, like, with his behavioral issues? Is that something you and Ruby talked about together? And then did you help him discover yourself and fix behavioral issues and things like that? Is that something you and Ruby sought out to help correct, like, some of the things?
Yes, and
Okay.
and I supported it, and so together we held boundaries for our son to support his choosing honest and responsible choices. And when he chose honest and responsible choices consistently is when he began to get his privileges back. And that was
Great parenting, right?
well, that was the uproar, right?
Yeah.
And so, but yes, through 2000.
Redacted for some reason. Come on, 2000 something. Hello.
Zone
There we go.
somewhere in Provo and working and supporting himself.
What other kids went down to visit Jody?
What other kids?
Yeah, did you send any of the other kids down to
We
spend time
didn't
with
send
Jody?
down to spend time with Jody. They would meet on Zoom.
That makes sense.
Meet on Zoom.
For spring stuff. Well, even in 2019, she would meet with
So when did Ruby and Jody, to your knowledge, like, decide to collaborate, come together and mesh lives? Because that's what's happened.
Well, they decided to start a business in 2021.
So while you and Ruby were together.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but there were, at that period it was pretty nebulous. I don't know.
What's that word mean?
It was just a lot of talk, and there weren't like solid plans. It was, let's start by doing podcasts together, and then that's all I know. I know that they published a book together recently. You can find it on Amazon. It's a secret.
Was the business thriving? Like, life was good between those two?
Well, not that I was aware.
Well, at some point, and again, I'm not digging into your life, but I'm trying to understand this. At some point,
We took,
they kick you out.
when you talk about a business, thriving
Uh-huh.
in terms of business and money, when we stopped 8 passengers on YouTube, we lost 90% of our income. So to say that business was thriving, in my perspective, no.
Got it.
I don't think it ever was after that.
Was that part of your guys' reason for separation after you guys ended 8 passengers?
Okay,
Was that
Tim,
part
thank
of the
you.
reason? The reasons are because of ways that I treated
Night, love.
my wife, and some of my own addictions that I was working through. And
Oh, he had
alcohol
addictions. Okay.
with pornography,
Thank you for sharing that.
and I've made some wonderful progress.
Like, is that something you came to the realization that you needed help and weren't doing things right? Or is that something that, like, Jody helped you guys recognize that maybe Ruby needed more? I'm trying to understand her involvement in your guys' life. She's my focus, so just to be honest.
I understand, and I can perceive that. Jody and Ruby have a close relationship, and Jody saw the need for me to get help, and frankly, I agree. The space has been exactly what I need to face, my own addictions and receive the support and help that I've needed. And so the space has been very, very good for me.
So when you stated that you and Ruby had this no contact that you guys just verbally agreed upon, was that an idea given by Jody that she recommended you guys have that space and not contact one another?
I'm not aware of that. the invitation for me to leave and take space was from my wife.
But that was
Okay, so
while
he was
Jody
given
working
the
with friends,
invitation to
collaborators,
have space.
doing podcasts, and
Sure.
well, you're the custodial parent of these children. I don't see why we can't explain to you why we're involved. So I don't recall the exact time, but sometime before 11 o'clock today, we received a
Oh,
phone
Ronnie,
call from
okay, I
911
had put that
our
on screen, but
dispatch
wow.
that a 12 to 13-year-old boy was knocking on doors in the neighborhood asking for food and water, that he was severely emaciated, that he had
What does emaciated mean?
skinny, scrawny, malnutrition, not enough food, not enough water to sustain life. So he
I'm
had
sorry, what?
he had duct tape on his extremities, on his hands, on his ankles, and those were covering rope burns that were used to tie him down. Take a second and think about what I just said.
Yeah,
That's the
mate.
condition of your son.
Think about that, mate, for a minute.
Given that information, your son was taken to the hospital. A warrant has been applied and granted by the Department of Child and Family Services to remove from your wife's care. So no one right now is going to have access to these two children based on their physical condition. Do you understand that?
I understand.
Would you condone that behavior?
But I condone that behavior.
That's my job. My job is to find out your knowledge of the treatment of these
Based on your
precious
description,
children.
no. But again, I don't know the details, or I don't know what's going on. But as you described that sounds horrible.
Disgusting. No human being should be treated like that.
Okay.
That's my thoughts, but again, we might be different on that. We're gonna sit here for a second, okay? We're gonna go out and talk. I'm not saying you're still not free to go. Are you under arrest? Absolutely not. We just have lots of questions that we need to figure out. Lots. Okay?
Okay, because
Your children are under medical care right now.
and what does that mean?
And it means that you don't have access to them. My understanding is that they are, what is that?
They're in the custody of DCFS.
And they will be for the next 70.
There's a medical hold on them right now, so for at least the next 72 hours, based on our understanding.
At least the next 70.
They're in observation.
They're-
They're being watched. to make sure they
DCFS
can
is gonna provide you that information and they can better answer your questions along those lines. That's handled through them. Okay, so we'll be back.
So I want you to think about some things though.
I don't know.
Listen to me. Listen to me. I want you to think about that for a minute. So I have no idea where they're at.
Well, I don't either. But
Okay, we're gonna hop out here. We'll be back in a minute, okay? That's still recording audio and video, okay? So if you would, don't make any phone calls.
sure.
How do you feel now, man? Think it was a good idea to take all that space? Was that a good idea? Yeah. Yeah, that was a good idea, right? Yeah. Yeah, okay. So we might just fast forward a little bit through him just sitting there having a little bit of a think about that. Say anything? No. Music? No.
What's going to happen with my wife? I love my wife.
I don't know. I'm being honest with you. I don't know. Haven't had anything to do with
I
you.
don't have press charges against my wife.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I think given the circumstances, that's how.
What's got to happen to your wife? What about your kids?
I was hoping to gain some insight from you, but I don't necessarily know that that's something you wanted to,
I trust her.
a road you wanted to travel down with me. So
You trust her.
Yeah, all right, I get it.
But I love my wife. I trust my wife. And so, I mean, this feels like getting run over by a steam truck, what you're sharing with me today.
I can tell you're caught off guard.
I thought I was just coming here to pick up my kids, and for what, I don't know what or why, but. And I was planning on taking them back with me and just.
I mean, I'd love to have a candid conversation with you. I just don't know how it's going to be received by you.
Right?
I don't know you, but I can tell you my perception of how this happened.
Well, I'm
Whether you have
interested.
it or not, it's
Look, I'm interested in facts, but at the same time, I'm interested in all the facts.
so you understand our facts. Our facts are that you have a child that is emaciated, malnutrition, and has marks. I didn't spend any time with her. Sergeant Tobler did.
Did any of you spend time with her?
But they didn't spend
I
time with her.
have not.
She went to. She was requested to go to the hospital along with Russell, based on their condition.
Folks, I don't know what to do. Like, I want this. You realize that I have a picture of my family on my wall.
Oh,
And I
have
look
you?
at it every day. And I work every day. So I can get back to my family and say to my family. And everything you're sharing to me just sounds like a made up story. Like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, it sounds like a horror movie. And I get you're all doing your jobs. I get it. I understand. And this is my life. I just want my kids. I just want my kids. I just want my family.
We want to have your family do.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know why these things that you described happen. I don't know. It's almost like I want to say, I'm sorry, you must have somebody else. Because it's like, am I in the right conference room here? No. That's what I feel like. It's reality, you know. I'm having a hard time accepting this and dealing with this. I mean, you're telling me that you're taking my kids from me. Like, we need to transfer the titles of the car to my name, you know, or we're going to cancel these credit cards and stuff like that. So just stuff related to the finances really is our only communications over the past year.
Sure.
We've had zero communications regarding the kids.
Okay.
I've had no reason to believe or think that there was anything going on. For all intents and purposes, I woke up this morning looking at the picture of my family and making my commitment today, as I do every day, that I'm going to live an honest, a virtuous, and a responsible life.
Yep.
Today. And what you're sharing with me just feels like a sucker punch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, imagine how it felt for the kids.
Brianna, you have questions?
If I still have a family.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what my plan. My plan is to go to God.
Sure.
And to figure this out.
Right.
And I am just heartbroken. What you're all
Okay.
sharing with me.
Well,
And I feel responsible.
That would happen.
Separating.
We need Dali's violin music. Well,
It hurts. And the voice of a better husband.
you like the violin music's actually on this channel. Sorry. Yeah.
I know you're all doing your jobs. And I know you all have the best interests of my kids in mind. I
Okay.
appreciate that.
Thank you, thanks. That means a lot.
I just want my kids back. I want my family back.
I'm sure you
My
do,
wife's
dude.
back.
But can you actually stop talking about yourself and start asking where the kids are, how they are, what you can do to actually like be with them right now and help them?
I don't want this to sound rude, Kevin. We've got some things to do, but we're not kicking you out. But the building's closed.
Okay, bye. Bye now. Right. Okay, so next thing's next. Let's share this just a second. I need to bring it up full screen. Okay, so guys, there's an audio of the second interview, and I've gone and made it pretty for you so you can listen and watch. Now the second interview, he gets into a lot more of what Ruby and Jody were actually up to, right? So this was a little bit later, like a month or so later. And get ready, guys, because now we start to hear the kind of religious extremism that they were really into. And yeah, so earlier we just saw that he's all like, yeah, they said I could take a break. It was best for my own issues. I had addictions, la la la. I haven't seen my kids in all this time. This is a gut punch to me. And just acting all kind of blasé about it. And I knew nothing. And then, well, I don't have to say much more. Let's just listen, right? Let's just listen and just wait until you start to, if you are aware of the Lori Bello Daybell case, this is going to start to give you some really, really big flashback moments, right? Flashback and a half moments, right? Let's go. This is the audio interview. Yes, it's an audio and it's the second interview, and that's the one I'm about to play. Let's go, people. Let's go, people. Let's make sure I've got the sound up as far as I can.
I was there. I don't think I interviewed with you.
Okay. Lieutenant Studley was with me the first time.
I don't
So
remember a lot. Yeah, oh, you're okay.
I don't blame you.
Share the stream, guys. Go tell people what's happening.
Yeah, but I know that both of my kids have mentioned both of you by names, and particularly with you. And it's a good kid.
Do you guys by chance have a card?
I do in the car,
Okay.
but not
Okay.
on me. So I'll grab that for you though.
Okay.
So like I talked to Mr. Kester about, I just want this to be totally ran by you. I won't ask you any questions that are incriminating. We're not looking at you as a suspect or anything like that. We just are more curious of the dynamic and Jody coming into your relationship, your lives. So if you kind of just want to walk us through that on how she came into your lives and then where things started to change.
Jody, you mean?
Jody.
Or
Jody.
I thought
Jody.
you said Julie, but
Oh,
Jody.
Jody.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jody. Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that. I'll ask first. Have you found the pen papers?
The pen papers. So we found quite a bit
They're-
of different.
We believe they're on the computer, and the rest of them are sealed, like they're trying to mail them off. But we do not have a direct copy of it, no.
Because my understanding was we had purchased as a Christmas present for Jody in 2021 a leather folder that 3 inches thick or whatever, and it had engraved on the leather on the outside the pen papers, and Ruby wrote detailed notes of everything, all interactions with Jody and Pam Botcher from August 2021 until I don't know when. But
And you're saying it's is it like a satchel looking leather bit, or is it more like a binder?
no, it's like I don't even know what to call it. But
It's flat.
Okay. Did you notice the way, like, he immediately, as soon as they set him down, he went, I have to ask you something. Did you find the pen papers? Like, ominously. Did you find the pen papers? It's like a movie, guys. It's like something like out of Game of Thrones or something. Did you find the pen papers? What? And then the cops are all like, oh, we found this and we found that. Just wait till he's talking to them and they're trying to work out whether they have this ominous thing.
it's well, yeah. So
It's
you
just like a
see
short, because we do have
Yep,
Ruby's
pen papers.
journal, which is from those dates that you mentioned.
these
About this
things
big.
are going to be so. She wouldn't write the stuff she wrote in the pen paper. She would not write in her journal. The stuff she wrote in the pen papers
Well, he knows.
was not intended to be read by anybody until God would decree them to be written as scripture for the whole world to read.
Did you hear that? No, it's not the journal. They're like, oh, no, we got a journal. We got this, we got that. And he's like, no, the stuff she wrote in the pen papers, she wouldn't write anywhere else. In fact, let's go back. It's flat. It's
well, yeah. So
It's
you
just like a
see
short, because we do have Ruby's,
Ruby's journal.
which is from those dates that you
these
mentioned.
these
About this
things
big.
are going to be so. She wouldn't write the stuff she wrote in the
In
pen
pen
papers.
papers.
She would not write.
She would not write in her journal.
The stuff she wrote in the pen papers was not intended to be read by anybody
Right.
until God would decree them to be
Written as scripture.
for the whole world.
For the whole world to read. Yes, like a newer testament. Hi, Amy, Ohio. Yeah. Okay. So no, not the journal. Like a cult manifesto. Kind of like, okay. So she thinks, Ruby actually thinks at this point that what she's writing in this thing is so important that it's going to end up like some sort of scripture, like a testament. Yeah, like a newer testament, exactly. So this rings really true to the kind of thing that was going on with Laurie Vallow Daybell. You know how they were writing words that were going to be for the 144,000, like the chosen few, and the words that they were writing were just like so important. Yeah, it's that there's this really cultish undertone to this. It's not just some words on paper. It's like this book of God kind of thing, kind of like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John kind of thing. And that also speaks to me that these women felt like they had some sort of higher purpose. Yeah, the Testament connections. Yeah, with an X. She's writing Jodi's prophecies spelled wrong. Yes. Yes. Although I'm not sure which one is the prophet or whether they both are. I need to look into this a little bit more. There are two there. If there are two, there are more. Oh, yeah. More than likely. More than likely. Oh, this is so weird. This is so weird. But just the way he came straight in and went, just one thing. Did you find the pen papers? For God's sake.
I believe that's what we
We have that.
have.
Okay.
Because you're saying
No,
the pen would be
You don't
different,
have it,
correct?
dudes.
Like a
Well, it was just in a thing called the pen papers. So it was, and that's how Ruby referred to those papers. So it described all of the visions and trances and everything that Jodi and Ruby went
How
into.
thick would you say it was?
It was like 3 inches thick or so. And there were hundreds of pages of written documents that Ruby had. And that was given to Jodi in 2022 when she left and returned to her home in January. So
This is similar.
yeah, like it would look like that.
Okay.
that's not the journal that we have. So
No, I think you're talking, looks like a satchel. or-
It's something Jodi would not want found,
yeah,
but she wouldn't want to destroy it.
because we didn't find that in the home.
Found the empty one.
We did find an empty one.
I don't
So
remember saying anything on it though. There's an empty thing like that.
Yeah.
There's a full thing, but it was.
If the empty one says the pen papers on the outside of it, then they emptied it.
I don't remember
we'll go
that.
back through our photos and see if that's
Yeah.
because everything in the
If-
home was photographed. So.
If you're interested in Pam Botcher, that's going to tie Pam Botcher to all of it.
Okay, I need to look into this Pam Botcher person.
Okay, so
Can I just interrupt for a minute? I'm sorry.
Sure.
Does anyone have any information on this Pam Botcher? I'm going to search her up. Is it stopped? Or has it just been,
okay.
there we go.
The bailiff and we're in here, so she can bring us a copy of the order.
Okay, let me see if I can find it.
Thank you. In 2018, we were cycling.
Oh, they really blacked out a bit there.
Hard to find in today's world.
There we go.
Good luck. Ruby had a very close friend named Paige Hannah, who lives in Mapleton, who was a massive fan of connections of Jodi and Hildebrand. In fact, the Hannahs are on the cover of their book. If you've probably seen them. And so Ruby started to speak with Jodi towards the end of 2018, early 2019, with the intention of having her be the therapist.
Right. And do you know what's happened to her, Ronnie?
Jodi always had a larger interest in communicating with the parents more than with the actual patient, which I always found curious. But her theory was, if you want to help your child, you have to help yourself first, and then you'll know how to help the child. So she spoke with Ruby frequently, and the frequency of their communications ramped up. And then the first conversation that Jodi had with Chad was in June of 2019 while we were on a trip to the East Coast. All of her visits with Chad were virtual through Zoom. But she would talk with Ruby on the phone or through Zoom quite frequently. So Jodi met with.
I'll look that up, Ronnie. I just found some info on her on Reddit. So I'll look into it a bit more.
things got really, it got strange around the fall of 2020. The Hannahs were trying to convince and bring Ruby into, thank you, into this organization called Connections. And that particularly were focused on things like lust versus love and healthy marriages, happier marriages, happier relationships. She invited me to go to it was like a conference or something held at Thanksgiving Point in Lehigh. There were like 100 people there, and that was in the fall of 2019.
Conference.
Maybe late summer 2019. Late summer 2019. And my impression at that time was this is absolute craziness. This is a bunch of man-hating women that are just looking for excuses to tear down their husbands. I mean, that's what it felt like to me when I was in there. But it was confusing because there were people that I respected a lot that were up on the stage.
Oh, I need to find out about this conference.
Giving testimonials of how great this was and how it changed their lives and their marriage. And like the Hannahs were among them, and so, yeah, it was confusing.
Wait, so
Ruby, then we went on a trip with the Hannahs.
So hang on a minute. So Jody had this conference, because I've seen that she was involved in conferences, like she would be up on stage and like preaching the word or whatever. But she was talking more about like how you can improve your life, because she's like a life coachy kind of person. But then there was a little bit of sort of religious stuff that I've seen. But this conference, he says it was a bunch of women who was like man-hating women. I'd love to see this video and tear it to pieces. That would be fun, if it still exists. So, sleuth in chat. If you want to go find it, whoever's first wins. But I'm going to have a look for it as well. So it was in Lehigh, I think they said. Lehigh. That sounds like fun for a future stream.
To the UK in October of 2019, and I swear the whole objective of the trip was to like convince me to get into Connections, because all of them were in it except me, but they made some really eloquent arguments, and I agreed to join a men's group with Jody in January of 2020.
A men's group with Jody.
For 3 months.
So they split up by gender.
Group in 2020, and the group. I don't know if you've ever been to like an addiction recovery group, but that's what it was. That's what it felt like. I mean, there were probably 10 men in there. It was on Zoom. All of them were like working through, various stages of like sex addiction, porn addiction, drug addiction, and it was just it was like a 12-step group, but intended just for general like addiction recovery. And I really was like, what the hell am I doing here? Like, I don't belong here. But everyone's like, no, come here. Like, you can learn to have a better like life and a better marriage. And so I thought, okay, whatever. I went through my obligatory 3 months, and I was ready to leave. And then I got challenged to. And then I got challenged to sit down and have a vulnerable conversation with my wife and ask her how my lustful choices have affected her. And, to me, that was like a loaded question. I thought, I still didn't see what I had done or anything that would constitute any form of like, abuse. abuse or anything like that. And but I did. I took the challenge and I sat down, and for 2 hours, Ruby very emotionally just shared how she felt in our marriage and how the things that I, over 20 years of marriage, asking for sex as a husband frequently, or asking her to wear lingerie, or things like that, how that made her feel. And it was really emotional and it touched me. Like, I didn't realize that she felt so strongly about that she felt so hurt by that. And so I committed that I would really give it a go. And I stayed in the men's group. And so, in that men's group, I met with Jody every week, with the other men that were in the group. And then it got weird because like our marriage felt like it was getting better and stronger. So this was now, summer and fall of 2020. And in addition to that, there was the whole YouTube cancel thing. I don't know how much you guys are interested or aware of that, but
What? Hang on.
in May of 2020, some videos that Ruby released on that dealt with Chad just blew up in her face, and it was all over the news, and hundreds of thousands of TikTokers and all this stuff were just piling on and basically burned down like our YouTube channel.
I want to know about that.
Overnight, like the income went, we lost 90% of the income overnight, and that was hard.
No, I don't think it's a
Was this
Chad
like
Daybell.
Which episode was this? Was this the one where they talked about like the big bag? Or okay.
Yeah, and then they started going back and trying
Okay, I'm
to
searching
dig
that
and
up.
find, and then they find these little nuggets like, oh, look, Eve went to school without a lunch one day, or stuff like that. But it was the beanbag video that really set people off.
8 passengers beanbag video.
So at that time, Ruby was really distraught.
Why did Ruby take Chad's
She was
bed
looking
away?
For support.
Why
She
did
was
Chad
looking for
sleep on a
someone who
beanbag?
would understand her, who would validate her, and she found that in Jody. All the stuff she did with Chad was because of Jody, and so it makes sense that she would go to Jody, for emotional support when she felt like her world was burning down. In the meantime, I felt like our marriage was getting stronger. It felt better. Like we didn't fight as much. Even though we were having less sex, it felt more connecting, and it was just, I thought, wow, this is great. Like, this is great. And I was happy to be the guy up on the stage. That started sometime in like late 2020 or the fall of 2020. There would be a conference, and Ruby would say, I thought we were just attending it, but then she'd say, hey, they wanted us to get up and tell our story, And I'm like, oh, okay, sure. So I get up and just say, like, yeah, I was the guy who said, I think this is a bunch of like, man-hating, women, that it really has made a difference in my marriage. And it really did. Like, I believed it. And so those conferences and stuff, everything continued like that until March of 2021, when after a conference, a connections conference down in St. George, all the inner circle, all the people who were being trained as mental fitness coaches and stuff. So that was Ruby and a bunch of other people and their spouses. We went out to like a dinner afterwards, and that's where Jody really opened up to the women in a private conversation that she believed she was being tormented and haunted by shadow figures every night. And that was spooky, I don't know exactly what happened, but the Hannahs do. All I know is at some point within a couple days of that, in that month of March, the Hannahs drove down from Mapleton and picked Jody up and brought her back to their home in Mapleton, and she lived for 6 weeks in that home in Mapleton. And this is where, like, I don't know what happened, but I do know that there's two different sides of stories. They tried to introduce her to a new cult lady that the Hannahs were getting into, so they wanted to merge their cults into one, apparently.
Oh, he actually is calling it a cult.
At the time.
Oh no. No one in a cult says I'm in a cult.
Right. But from your perspective, it looks like two cult leaders merging together.
From where I stand now, absolutely.
Yep.
According to Jody, she was held against her will for 6 weeks and was kidnapped, and she escaped and got out. According to the Hannahs, after 6 weeks of Jody stabbing herself with forks and knives, cutting herself, and wanting to commit suicide and trying to seduce the husband of the family, they kicked her out. I don't know what's the truth. Maybe a little bit of both. I don't know. But the point is, somewhere around mid-April, Jody was back in her home in Ivans, and she was a hot mess. And
100% Paige.
For help.
Did we
And
just miss something, Murph?
Ruby was
When I was
always
talking,
jealous of the Hannahs. But the point is, somewhere around mid-April, Jody was back in her home in Ivans, and she was a hot mess. And she reached out to Ruby for help. And Ruby was always jealous of the Hannahs, that they had a better relationship with Jody than she did. Ruby, and this is like, goes back to her childhood. She wanted to be the best friend. She wanted to be the most liked. She wanted to be the one that everybody knew. And so it hurt her that she felt like she was being excluded from what was going on at the Hannah's house. And she'd say, why are so many secrets?
Yeah, who are the Hannahs? We have to look this up too.
It's not a secret, it's sacred. And when the time's right, you can know too. So we went down to Jody's house in May of 2021. That was the first time I'd ever been there. And it blew my mind, as I'm sure you have walked in there and gone, how does a therapist live like this? Like, it didn't make sense to me. But we were there, and she opened up and talked about, her struggles and what was going on. And I gotta say, like, I'm a smart guy.
Oh, are you?
I'm an engineer. I've designed and helped build some really big stuff. I'm a college professor.
You're on YouTube as well?
I can't explain some of the stuff that happened while we were there. Like crashes in the basement while we were talking upstairs. And plates, like, in the kitchen just flying off by themselves, like full speed, smashing on the wall and falling to the floor by themselves. I can't explain it, but I saw it with my own eyes, and I don't have any way to explain it other than there's some crazy shit going on. Ruby was convinced that we could intervene and help Jody. I didn't want a thing to do with it. I tried to get the bishop involved and say, hey, go to the priesthood and the church and all that stuff. Just go to your support network. But Ruby continued to be like, no, we can help. Like, she doesn't want that. Could you imagine like what would happen to her reputation if this got out? Let's help her. So we went down like a couple more times between May and August, but it reached the point where in August, her bishop at the time, a guy named who's down there in Cayenta named Scott Galbraith. He's not our bishop anymore, but I mean, he was going over there like every night, and he'd be there for like 4 hours, and he'd be like, I'm fighting evil spirits, I'm casting demons out, I'm crazy stuff going on, and finally he got to the point where he's like, I can't do this anymore. Like there needs to be some sort of resolution. It was at that point that they said, why don't you take her up to your house? And I was like, oh, hell no. I don't want this in my house. But I was beaten over the head with it. Like, that's really insensitive. You know, she's done so much to help our family. And you're being selfish. And she has needs. And come on, like, it won't be for long. And so I relented. And I was like, okay. Actually, you know, this could kind of be fun. Let's just make it fun, and we'll like. She needs a vacation, so we'll just go make drives up the canyon and stuff like that. And it turned into just like crazy house. The moment she showed up in my house, just the weirdest crap started happening. Lights turning on.
Oh, we'll go with you. Cool.
Sounds of people walking in walls, and like sounds like footprints going up walls and across the ceiling, and like stuff floating around, and it was weird, and I hated it.
That's weird.
I became the resident exorcist. That was the title I came up with myself. I thought it was kind of funny, but it was my job to like go and give her blessings whenever she started to like go into a trance and go into possession.
Oh my God.
Which started to be a lot.
Okay.
And Ruby would go up and check on her. It
Okay.
started like every 4 hours at night, and then every 2 hours at night, then it moved every hour at night, and then at some point Ruby said, you know what, I'm just going to start sleeping in there. And if I need you, I'll come down and get you. That's kind of weird, but okay.
Kind of weird.
And that was that. They started sleeping in the same bed. And then she started having like trances and stuff. I would say probably September, where she believed that she was going to heaven and seeing God and Jesus and talking with them.
Oh dear.
And she would get together with Pam Botcher. Ruby, Pam, and Jody would get together and do these interventions. That's what they called them. So they'd just go up and lock themselves in a room for 4 or 5 hours, and then they'd come out and they'd all just be on cloud 9, and Ruby would share with me. Like,
that's called drugs.
She had this amazing vision, and I wrote it and
what did
recorded
they
it
bring
all
in
down.
with them?
And we have a work to do from God, and you're part of it, and the bishop's part of it, and we're all part of bringing all this stuff to the world.
What stuff?
So it was
it the wacky weed?
continued like that until I wanted to move on with life. And
Oh dear.
I would call it dragging my heels. So that was around October. And
so you didn't do anything to help the situation.
Joey flipped out because during one intervention, Chad was in the backyard with a bunch of friends, and it was my job to keep all the kids contained in the basement watching movies or playing video games. And I took the dog on a walk, and I thought they were done, but they weren't done.
What, they weren't done
Chad
smoking weed?
all his high school friends over in the backyard. Jody flipped out. She was ready to come back to Albans on her own that night, and Ruby and Pam talked her into staying. But that was the first night where Ruby said, I want a separation from you. and it was an in-home separation, and so it was hard. Basically,
Yeah, I'm
there were all
not.
these rules now placed on me. Like, I could leave when I wanted, but I couldn't come back until Ruby gave me permission. I couldn't come into the kitchen to eat until Ruby gave me permission. And the upstairs where Jody roamed was completely off limits. I couldn't go upstairs anymore in my own house. And there would be, Ruby would dictate all of the terms of how our interactions would be, when we would talk, and that was hard. And it was during that time that I really became, I would say, dependent upon Ruby. Like, if she said a kind word to me, like, my whole day was made, right?
Really?
So that separation continued all the way up until the holidays, maybe the last week of December, first week of January, and then Ruby ended that separation. Jody went home like the second week of January, but by that time, like, Ruby, Pam, and Jody were completely determined to do this work that they felt God had for them.
Mm.
And I thought it was crazy. Like, I thought it was just batshit crazy. Like, Ruby, you have a reputation, you have a multi-million-dollar business, you have a brand, and you are just giving it away. She wanted to legally, like, work with Jody's attorney to basically give Jody 8 passengers and become an employee of Connections. So basically, the contract was Ruby gives Jody everything, and Ruby gets nothing in return. Our manager, our YouTube manager at the time, was like, red flags. Like, I don't know how to tell you. She is scamming you. Ruby fired him. And I was like, I believe our manager. I think he's right. And Ruby started threatening me with another separation. And just like, this isn't about money. This is about doing God's work.
Okay.
So
Look, all right. I can understand a little bit feeling a bit bad for him, because men sometimes get in this situation, especially like dads. I'll say it with dads, especially, because when you have children and you are threatened with the idea of losing access to your children, because the mother generally is the one who is the first to be awarded custody of children, right? Especially in this country, anyway. I assume it's the same in the US. If there's a separation, if there's a divorce, the mum tends to be the one who is most often awarded custody of the children. The kids, the family law courts tend to go, the kids need a mum first over the kids need a dad first. And so if there's issues between the mum and the dad, that tends to be the case unless there's like some extenuating circumstance, like the mum's crazy, and there's nothing that can be done about that. And if it really gets malicious, then sometimes the mother will sort of make things up and say that the dad is alcoholic or whatever. If he has addictions and they're obvious, then that would count against him in favor of her having custody. Now, and that's assuming that there's no evidence of any issues with her. So maybe he's frightened of losing custody of the children at this point. We're talking a few years back. But then again, he doesn't talk about the kids. He doesn't ever talk about them. He keeps talking about how much he loves Ruby. I love her, la la la. And she won't let me do this, she won't let me do that. He never really talks about the kids at all. Like, so I can't feel sorry for him. I just can't. I just can't bring myself to feel anything about him. It's just all about him wanting to please her. And so, yeah, that's for me. I'm just like, I could have felt something for him, but he just keeps going on about her. So, yeah. Murphy Turpy. Oh, you just keep giving out the gifted memberships. That's so nice of you. Thank you for giving a gifted membership. That's so sweet. Who got it? Who got it? Sorry, I don't have the stream up right now. Could you? Let me see. Whoever got it, could you yell out? Could you yell out whoever got it? That's so sweet of you. If he told a judge about the exorcism and demons, he could have had full custody. Yeah, I know. I know. Oh, Sal, Dolly, you didn't have to do that. No, Dolly. Ronnie, do you have allow gifts on? Make sure you have allow gifts on. Oh, Sal, you didn't have to do that. That's so sweet of you. That's so nice. Hang on, I'll bring up my stream so I can see who got them. Because I really should have it up. And I don't. That's dumb of me. Okay, let's see. Murphy Turfy. Jess Rubery was gifted a membership by Murph's Turf. And Stacey Marie Rockstar, that's a cool name. I am Dave, Eric, and Joseph were all gifted memberships by Dolly. Thank you. Oh, you guys are all so sweet. That's so nice of you. Okay, let's keep watching and see if we can make any sense out of this craziness. Crazy.
We continued in that dynamic for the next 6 or 7 months until she went on a trip with Jody and Pam down to Arizona. And I think they, like, when I read her journal, that she went into Mexico or something and bought drugs or something, like prescription drugs for the emergency kits. And when she came back from that trip, before she even brought the bags into the house, she pulled me in and said, I want to talk with you. And that's when she asked me to leave. And that was July 2022. My interactions with Jody at that point became one of Jody. I was still in the men's groups, but the dynamic changed. Instead of being like one of the top people that helped run groups and helped support, all of a sudden I felt like I got knocked to the bottom. And Jody was just piling on me every week in the men's groups. And the other men just do whatever Jody does. If Jody piles on somebody, they all pile on. If Jody praises somebody, they all praise. And so it really felt like a pack of dogs, and Jody was the alpha. And whoever she, sicked the dogs on, they would go. Whoever she praised, the dogs would just lick them up and down. And that's how these groups went. And so once I was in separation, every week was just hell, psychological hell. And Jody was running it. Everything was on Zoom. And I knew that the only way I would ever get back into my house was I had to get Jody's approval. If I didn't get Jody's approval, I would never get Ruby's approval. But it felt like an impossible task, because no matter what I did, no matter how much I tried to track better, be truthful and not be selfish, every week it was like, you're being manipulative, you're being selfish, you're lying, you're hiding something, you're still hiding stuff. And I really started to like question my sanity, honestly.
This is
After a while.
Jody that we were talking about.
So that continued for an entire year, but it became more and more and more and more and more isolating until Jody had an approved list of men that I could make phone calls to. It was basically 3 men, but 2 of those, well, no, all 3 of those 3 men were like, we don't want to do phone calls with you anymore because you're being manipulative. And I'm like, well, who told you that? Well, Jody did. So I was completely cut off. And if I went to my church leaders, I was seeking enablement. If I went to my family, I was seeking enablement. If I went to anybody, I was seeking enablement. And so it felt like a no-win. I felt trapped. And that's where I was all the way up until the last week of July, when Jody called me one day out of the blue and just said, I don't understand why you're not getting it. You're not changing. I don't get it. So I've been asking God what to do. And God told me that you need just to have complete, what's the word they would use? Solitude with God.
Become a monk.
Yeah. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, I don't want you to come to men's group anymore. And I don't want you to do phone calls with any of the men.
Oh,
And I'm
you
like,
can't talk to any of the
who
other
am I
men.
talking with? Who's going to support me? God will.
God will.
You need to learn to go to God. And so I'm just like, there's nobody. You're just, I'm going to be completely cut off. And she's like, no, you'll have God. So that was the last week of July. And that was my last interaction and contact with Jody. But it was strange because at that time, around that time, things with Ruby started like picking up. And I didn't understand why, but like Ruby wanted to meet in a parking lot and wanted me to sign over titles of documents. Like the 2 of our cars wanted me to sign them over to her name. And
To Ruby.
Hang on, Ruby or
I was
Jody?
like, okay, I'm just not, I'm in total compliance mode at this point. Just like, I'm a good husband, you see.
Oh, Jody. So
You can
Ruby,
trust
sorry.
me. And so whatever she asked, like sign over the cars to me, no questions, just okay. And then another thing, she was like, I might want to do an investment, but I will need your signature. Do you trust me?
You're a simp, dude. Sorry. Grow some balls. You needed to grow some balls throughout this. I'm sorry. Like, what? You're not even living there. Like, you're not even there. You're outside somewhere and you're living your own life. You know your kids are with this woman, and this other woman she's involved with this other woman who's crazy ass, and you can't grow some balls and be a man and stand up for her to her just a little. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? And then she comes and she wants to meet you in a damn car park and just get you to sign over the title to a bunch of assets, and you're just in compliance mode. What? Compliance mode? What's wrong with you, dude? I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, she's not got a gun to your head or a knife to your throat. What is happening here? Sorry, I don't get it. Like, someone explain. Someone explain.
Enough that I could get your signature if I wanted to pursue my own investment. Yeah, sure. whatever you say.
How big of an investment was she talking about? What did she tell you?
She never did, and I never signed anything. She never brought anything to me. But when I returned to
You're
the
not even getting
house,
any.
everything was packed up, and a neighbor came over and said she asked for the HOA rules and mentioned to him that she wanted to rent the house out, which I was like, "Yo, are you kidding me?" And she wanted to sell the house, but couldn't because my name is on the mortgage. And I think that's what she was talking about. Of, will you sign something if I just put it in front of you?
Oh, she wanted to get his name off the
And
mortgage.
you know what? I probably would have. Like, that's how messed up I was.
I'm glad you didn't.
Me too. That would have been disastrous. But I can't describe to you what torture and hell it was to live it was more than a month really, in complete isolation. Believing that I was like evil.
Oh, right. Thought he was evil. Mm-hmm.
I mean, manipulative and lying and selfish, and that I had abandoned my family, and that I was more interested in my selfishness than my family.
Well, partially true.
And I think moving forward, you going through that is going to be extremely helpful. I felt that way because a lot of those are the same words that were used with them, and you're going to understand how they felt, you know.
We've already talked about that,
Yeah.
actually. The couple of times we've met, I've said, this is how I felt. Did you feel that way? Like, yes, this is how I felt. Like, when we each confess to things that we didn't do, I'm like, I confess to things I never did. But I was so scared. It's like, that's what I did too. So we connected on that level, you know. And it's crazy that anybody can get to that level of desperation, but we were there. We were there.
This was the end of July, what you're saying.
Why?
2022, or the last time you saw Jody was
23.
23. Okay.
The last communication I had with Jody was last week of July. It might have been like the first couple days of August, but just
shortly before we made contact with you.
Yeah,
Or
like a
you
month.
made contact with us.
A month before.
Yeah.
So for that whole month, my life was literally wake up, exercise, go to work, pretend everything's okay, come home, do connections like workbooks and read scriptures and try to strip selfishness out of my life. Like, go to bed, wake up, repeat every day.
God.
I mean, I was so upside down. And my plan was in 6 months, I get to reach back out to Jody again, and she'll let me back in the group, and then I can prove. Oh, I don't know if I already
July.
Might be kids.
might be. Oh,
And we can.
has it been an hour? I told you it wouldn't take an hour. I'm sorry.
We're good too if you need to head out. That was seriously.
I guess
We just wanted, yeah.
the only questions I would have, just going back, you said that she was having like these visions of like were you ever privy enough to understand, or were you told what those visions
She
were?
grabbed
A couple
Pepsi.
of them. What
I
was
love
it?
Pepsi.
Should tell you about.
Pepsi Baxter.
So, like, one of them, she was walking along the beach with Jesus, and Jesus challenged her to go walk on the water, and it was a whole lesson on walking on the water. Another, she would walk with Heavenly Father and Heavenly Mother, and she had a pet lion in heaven named Charles. I don't know why I never forgot that name, but it was like this massive lion, and she got to ride the lion, learned that, all about who she was and this pet lion and all.
Riding a lion.
There was another one where there was a lot of satanic ones where when she would go into possession mode, she would talk in like different voices. It was really creepy. But the voices would say, "She's ours. We're not letting go. She is Satan's bride.
Imagine this being your mother.
She's mine. I'm going to marry her." So if she was faking it, she believed that she was trying to, or Satan wanted her as her bride.
God.
So then you said, just
Looney
clarify,
Tune.
last time you saw the kids was when you separated that in July is that what you did? Of 2022. Do you have
I'm
any
gonna speed him
questions
up
for
a
us?
little bit. He talks slow.
No, I'm just really interested in the pen papers. Like for my own
Oh, back to the pen
curiosity,
papers.
I want
All
to
right.
know what was going on in all of those little interventions.
I'll look back through the photos because, like I said, we documented everything in the home, whether we took it or if we didn't. And then I'll reach out to Mr. Kester and let you know.
So I have
But-
a couple of observations when you're done.
Yeah, go for it.
So I always thought it was interesting, now that you mentioned that she was riding a lion. Kevin told me that when they were having these group meetings, she would never show up. She would show up on the WebEx, but in place of her person would just be this X for the connection. So it's like this Wizard of Oz thing going on. And I just thought that
She
was
never
kind
showed
of-
her face.
Kind of eerie.
She always covered herself.
Yeah.
Like even in the hottest of summer, she would wear these hoodies. She would smell so bad.
Oh.
She would never bathe.
Thanks, Becca Lady.
But she was trying to hide her arms and stuff because apparently Ruby told me they were just like mutilated.
So the other thing that I think it's important for them to know is during that whole time when you were out, you
That's
had
cool, love.
communication with Ruby maybe 3 or 4 times. But each time, or at least on some of the occasions you spoke to her, she's telling you that everything's blissful, we're doing well, everything's so much better without you.
Oh, well, that would be communicated to me by Jody every week and the mentors too. And it was just like, you're abandoning your family. And it always hurt so bad because it's like, I want to be with my family so bad. What do you mean I'm abandoning them? If you wanted to be with your family, you would change. You would stop being selfish. But you keep being selfish, so you want it. And it was just felt like, well, how do I stop wanting it then? It's like, then you must change. Well, how do I change? Well, you got to want it. Well, what? So how do I want it? You got to change. It's this like, yeah, there's no, I tried to find my way into that cycle. And it felt like, you ever had a dream where there's like a problem you're trying to solve, but you can't solve it, and how frustrating you feel? That's what my life felt like. And as I'm looking back, I'm realizing there was no solution. You either had Jody's approval or you didn't. I wasn't doing anything different than the other men in the group. But they got her approval, so they were praised and they were repentant and they were doing everything right. I, on the other hand, was manipulative and selfish and enabling and all blah, 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 blah. And she became like the arbiter of truth, the arbiter of forgiveness, God's own mouthpiece. And it was just messed up.
Well, I'm glad that you're seeing clearly, and
Coming out of the
kind of
fire.
came out of it. Yeah.
Oh, even, dude.
Yeah.
One last
Chris-
discussion.
You still don't ask you about your
In the
kids.
home, when the warrant was issued, there was a bag with $85,000 cash.
Yes.
And I understand her lawyer, Ruby's lawyer, has all that.
I'm not.
Which home are we talking about?
Ivan.
In Ivan's?
In the Ivan's home.
We don't know. The money was left where it was left. We didn't take it. The house was secured when we left. We're assuming that Lamar Windward
Yeah,
was
he
able
has
to
it.
retrieve it, but we don't. I can't tell you.
Yeah.
one way or the other.
So here's kind of the issue. That money, she cleaned out their bank accounts,
The kids' savings accounts.
Yeah. and yours too, your joint account.
Yeah.
And that's where that money came from.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you can have, or if I need to have a discussion with the county attorney. Kevin would kind of like his kids' money back.
Yeah. So it would be civilly. So I would go address
I'll
that.
talk to Lamar.
Lamar,
See what those funds are being used for.
I don't think he wants to give them up. And I wouldn't either if I were
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
I think he's using it for attorney fees.
Yeah.
I don't know if the county attorney is going to be able to separate that out. Unless the judge has already separated it out. Even the county attorney's going to go. It's civil. It's both your guys' money in some sense, and
But if you
The judge
did-
would have to divide that up to where to go to do that. He's a county attorney.
If you did go civil, though, I feel like that would be your fastest route to.
It's just dirty what she did.
Yeah.
She
No.
stole money. She stole money from my 18-year-old son out there. And it's wrong.
Well, the other thing that you did, that, I don't know, I mean, there's a lot there, but I think they need to know that while Jody was living in Maine, she was also purportedly giving therapy to Chad, and Chad was paying her. He's like.
At that time, we
15,
were
16?
paying her.
Oh,
It
okay.
wasn't until Chad moved out that part of his therapy was he needed to pay for his own therapy. So at age 17, he was paying her $900 a month to get brainwashed.
Dad at 17?
He did.
What was he doing for work?
He worked at a lifeguard, basically.
Okay.
Lifeguard supervisor at
That's
two
his
different rec
check.
centers. So it was like the majority of his check was going to Jody,
He was paying her more than he's paying rent, wasn't he?
So,
3 times as much.
Oh, Ronnie, thank you, love.
obviously, he's seen her house, and what she has, he's.
Thank you for all your support,
A
Ronnie.
lot of money.
I really appreciate it.
There's a lot of money. I don't know if we can. Sorry, we'll see. I'm not sure if we know where that money came from or where it went. It didn't seem like she had income within the past little bit. So
Their book sales, were her book sales?
I can't imagine they were. Anyway, I need to get my kids.
Yeah, we'll
so
definitely
you're
let
good,
you go. And
You're
thank you
good.
so much for your time. We appreciate
I
it.
want to cooperate though in anything related to Jody and Ruby and if I can help.
We appreciate that.
reach out to your attorney if that's okay. If you have any questions, you can do it over the phone or something. You have to be in person.
Okay. Now, hang on. So, Ronnie, I just need to tell you, I met you over on Sean's chat, and I know that you're hanging out here so much, and especially you even said on the last stream you can't stand Gypsy, but you're hanging out just to support, and that I just love you. I think you're awesome, and it's just it's such a big compliment to me that you would hang out and support the channel, and you're really enjoying the streams. So, thank you for the super chat, and it just means the world to me. Mwah. Love you. Love having you in chat. You're a great person to have in chat. Always offering good chitty chats for all of us to enjoy. So, guys, we just did a little bit of a search for Kevin Franke, and at conference, I did Kevin Franke at conference with Jody Hildebrand, and this is what I found. So it's just a short one. I didn't get to watch it properly because I was busy watching the stream. But let's see how it goes.
Kevin Franke was part of Jody Hildebrand's Connections classroom. Here he's seen at a men's retreat with Jody in 2020.
Hi, we're here at Man School in St. George,
Man
Utah.
School.
These are two of these lovely men. Kevin just got done giving a talk about from coddle to cradle. And we're here together with about 40, 45 men who are interested in learning how to connect.
Why is he looking at her like that? In my opinion, it's a look of admiration.
Oh, I hate
And
AI
you probably
voices.
don't know this, but in order to be able to connect, you have to live 3 principles. They are being honest, responsible, and humble. And so these men have, pretty much perfected, right, guys? Perfected. Living on.
It's strange she said that because fast forward a couple of years. And she allegedly told Ruby to kick him out.
Yeah.
No more problems.
Here's the adulator, here's the denigrator.
That's right.
Kevin really seems to be enjoying this, in my opinion.
Living honest, responsible, and humble. That's what we're all practicing so we can have relationships and connection. So Kevin just gave this amazing talk about coddle to cradle. Will you share a little bit about what that?
Yeah, we focused a lot and had a great discussion with the men here about the principles of self-reliance and about responsibility and being able to not run away from responsibility,
Didn't he just abandon his kids for a year?
but to embrace it and to accept it, because those responsibilities are exactly what will lead you to greater connection and happiness in life.
What was that like for you, Steve, as you were listening to that?
Yeah, it was wonderful. Kevin did a great job. And as my role as a husband, a father, an employer.
I don't know who this man is, but I wonder if Jody had his wife kick him out too.
A friend, I'm realizing my need to have deep, meaningful relationships and the responsibility it requires for me to be honest, responsible, and humble to bring that true happiness that comes through being connected.
Oh dear.
Thank you. It's been just electrifying.
Electrifying. Yeah, okay.
We've had 2 talks so far. We've got another 5, 6 lined up. We're going to have some panels talking about parenting, and then we're also going to have
Parenting.
She said a woman's panel. In case you couldn't hear the strange whispering.
a women's panel, but they don't know that yet, so they're going to walk in tomorrow.
It'll be explosive.
Yeah. Like, oh my goodness, the women are going to share with them how to help them understand what women need in order to be connected, which is the same thing. They need honest, responsible, vulnerable from the end. So Man School is
It's weird that she keeps calling it man school.
about learning how to preside, protect, and provide, not just physically, but more importantly, spiritually and emotionally. So we'll be hearing this annually, and I would welcome you from anywhere in the world. We'll have a Zoom option, and of course, coming live.
Join us.
Yes.
Kevin Franke was heavily involved with Connections Classroom, even presenting at the conferences in the past. We also know Jody was his therapist. But he claims that she was the one who encouraged Ruby to kick him out. What do you think happened between them?
Yeah, okay. I hate those AI voices. Just they're horrible. Oh, don't let McKinley hear that. I won't tell her. Oh dear me. Yeah, okay. So like that was just the first one I found. So I'm gonna do more digging on that. I need to know more about these other characters. So this Pam Botcher and the Hannahs. I need to know who they are. And I want to see more of him interacting. I have questions about him. I don't want to finish knowing about him just from those couple of interrogations. Yeah, the jail calls. I'm interested in that, Becca. I don't think I have them in that exhibit in my pile of exhibits there. I might, not sure. I haven't been through all of the audio. I will check. But yeah, thank you for that heads up. Paige and Johnny Hannah. Ooh, okay. I'll make a note of that, Amy Ohio. Thank you. I'm not sure if now is the best time to run this stream. Weekend might be better. I need to think about it. So there's a lot of other people streaming right now. So I might think about whether or not I bring it back to being on the weekend. But this weekend, we're definitely doing Murdoch Mail. So that will be 6:30 p.m. Eastern. On Saturday. And I have my other show, Hearsay for Days, on Sunday. So not sure exactly what time to run this, or maybe I need to run it a little bit earlier. So we'll see. You like the AI? Yeah. Look, it always sounds sarcastic though. Have you noticed? Like Silnat said, yeah, no matter what, those AI voices always sound sarcastic. Like they sound like really kind of condescending and mean. Don't know why. It just does. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Becca. I appreciate that. I found a video from 5 months ago. One of the Frankie kids spoke out. Ooh, yes, please. That too. That would be cool. Thank you. Always, Murph's always finding the good stuff. You most likely survive in Amsterdam. Yeah. We can't fix Jody or Ruby. Maybe they get fixed up in prison. We'll see. Although it seems to me, if we have a look at Laurie Daybell, she's having a great old time in prison. In fact, people are saying that she's way more dangerous in prison than she was outside. I don't know about that because she was unaliving people outside, but she's indoctrinating people in prison is what they're saying. And she's happy as Larry in there. Did you see her? She's like, hi, everyone. Yeah, I think she's a bit of a kingpin there. Anyway, turning on the bell so I can be notified. Great stream. Oh, thank you, Amy. Thank you for being here too. Also, I think you're a member. You have a membership. And if you join our Discord, which if you go to membership and go to the perk section and you click on the link to the Discord, you come into our Discord, you will get announcement notifications every time either myself or Mr. Salvador Dali there streams. So, and they are the best notifications, because YouTube ones can be a bit, garbage. It's like they notify you like 2 hours late. So, yeah, definitely turn on the notification bell, but you're already a member. So, yeah, come on in to the Discord. We have lots of fun in there. We have watch parties and things, but you'll get excellent notifications. Excellent notifications. Sweet, sweet, sweet. That's awesome. Oh, you'll sign up when it expires. Oh, that's awesome. Yay, thank you. All right, we're going to go raid Mr. Potentially Criminal, if he's still going. I think he is. Yeah, I think he is. So yeah, do that. He's got a Stephen Lorenzo, and he's a pro se defendant. So they're always fun. They are defendants who represent themselves in court. Okay. And we'll make sure that tomorrow you are here for not tomorrow, Thursday night, you are here for the Zachariah Anderson stream. So see you guys then. But otherwise, I'll see you over in Sean's chat. Make sure you say EU raid or hello raid. And thank you for being here. I know it's been a long stream. I appreciate it. Okay. Time for my bye-bye. Where is my goodbye? Oh, there's so many things here. Where is it? Oh, I'll use Free Zachariah Anderson one. Okay.